you see when stuff gets pushed to a certain point that they do these little reruns of shows and they have these individuals on. Like at the moment, they know that a lot of people are waking up to the fact and questioning these NGOs. There's so many people talking about these NGOs. So what they do is they put these NGOs on the TV to sort of rub it in your face that little bit more, that like the feeling of that they're untouchable, you know? It's all like all of this ties into getting under your skin and trying to wind you up even more because they feel like they're untouchable, you know? And I don't blame them because they've got away with it for so long. They've got away with this trying to drive the Irish people insane for so long. And you see now with the likes of Martin and all, you know, basically calling the Irish people mongrels, which, you know, that they're at a stage now where they feel comfortable saying them sort of things. He might have said that back in the day, but he still stands by his words on that. I'll do a video on that one. But with this one, you can see that there are more people questioning the NGOs and what they're really all about. So they have McGuirk on with this. Trina O'Connor is there as well. She's an ex-criminologist, not this one. I'll get the name of this one now in a minute. But let's have a listen to what they're saying here in this one, if you haven't seen it.
Happened in Coolock and other places is we see the amplification of hate. We see these calls to violence, people turning up and really impacting in our communities. So we really need to be serious about reining in the power of social media companies, turning off the recommender system by default. That's something that our government really needs to act on and act on quickly.
So our main issue is, you know, there's far too much being said on social media. That, and McGuirk points this out. Now listen, I don't agree with McGuirk on most things, especially his support of Israel and stuff. I don't align with that, right? But he makes this point. I'm gonna find her name now, but I'll let this play through.
You're not talking about reining in the power of social media companies. You're talking about reining in the right of the public to see things you wouldn't like them to see. You're just framing it in a particular way. But in actual fact, what you're asking for is restrictions put on people's ability to engage with content that you personally disapprove of. And once again, we have a representative of a taxpayer-funded organisation funded by the government coming on to a television programme.
Like, see this woman here? Look at her response. They can't look at him. She's in shock that he even dare bring up. Now, we know this is all a game to these people, right? But the shock of him even bringing up the fact that this woman is a representative, the only reason she has a voice is because she's taxpayer funded. She's NGO taxpayer funded. And the gall of her to say that they should rein in certain social media platforms who are letting the Irish people just talk freely. I'd say it's particularly aimed at X or Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. I'd say that's where she was going to go with that one. But let this go on.
To tell the Irish public that she thinks they shouldn't be allowed to see things she disagrees with. That's the that's the basic line. You use the word misinformation and disinformation.
She shouldn't be entitled to that opinion?
She's entitled to the opinion, but it's important to clarify what the opinion is. And it's also important, by the way, which I don't think reporters ever do, to clarify that this is an organisation funded by the Irish state and the taxpayer and the very people watching this programme coming on in the guise of, you know, left-wing nice campaigning organisation to push a government policy on people, which is we don't want you to see what we're seeing on government on social media. Now, the reality is you use the word misinformation and
John, do you think that the government
work.
tells the GAA what line?
You see, I've had serious questions there when he interrupted, because where McGuirk was going, where he was going with that was, see, I can tell because you keep using the words misinformation and disinformation. Now this is Virgin News, right? Virgin 1. He got told in his ear, quick, interrupt him. Don't let that question go back, because if more people were dead wide to them using them words, they're like, people start questioning, God, why are they saying the same words over and over? Because that's the whole point. That's the whole point of saying the same words over and over. It's the same thing with saying far right over and over. You know, it's a drill. You tell a lie for long enough, and people will believe it. So get this: there are people in Ireland, right, that when they watch this sort of show, and they hear people say that disinformation, misinformation, they still believe these people on this TV show, as if like they're telling the truth. That, oh my God, there's this far right element in Ireland that's just spreading misinformation and disinformation. Even though there might be videos out there of what the people are saying, it still doesn't matter. As long as they get ahead of it and say it's misinformation and disinformation, that's enough. That's enough. Stop. Oh, hang on a second.
To take. Or men's sheds organisations.
No,
These are NGOs funded by the government.
I think.
I mean, we'd be blue.
No, I don't think it has to. I don't think it has to.
I
don't think it has to. I think once you accept state funding, as by the way, this.
So when somebody is sharing a message that you are not supportive of, you want that to come with a disclaimer.
Try it with me, dogs. See the way he's even pointing the finger. So when someone says something that you don't like, then it should be rolled in. You know, this kind of thing. It's just a more continuation of the shit show that is Irish television. You know, they're trying to put this message across that they're fair and balanced in a way, because he's calling out McGuirk's questioning. Sorry, he's calling out McGuirk's sort of way of looking at things, in the sense of, well, so because you don't agree with her, you think that she shouldn't have a voice. You know, this type of way. But we all know it's just like prolonging the shit show. That's all this does with these shows. That's all it does. They might have the likes of McGuirk on, and it might look like he's catching them all out, and he is, but only to those that are clued in. Only to those that watch the videos that we watch of the lads in town, say, catching all these attacks happening and stuff like that. In some people's heads in Ireland, none of that is happening, because they're told that it's misinformation and disinformation. Do you know? I'll continue here. Hang on.
Disclaimer. Basically, you're giving out to a debt. What you want is the exact same thing.
I'm saying that once you start taking money from the government,
you're a hypocrite. It's the exact same.
Hold on a second. I don't take money from the government, but I want to be absolutely clear on this.
I think you don't
Kieran,
want us to clarify. I don't want us every time the GAA, every time Jarlath Burns opens its mouth, you don't think that we should clarify that the GAA gets government funding, because you don't have an issue with the message he is sharing. You have an issue with the message that Adele is sharing.
Happy.
So you wanted to come with a disclaimer.
I am perfectly happy, Kieran.
You are calling for the exact same thing she is.
Perfectly happy for you to give a disclaimer every time somebody receives taxpayer.
Like the way he heightens his voice and all, you know, it's just the front. It's just it's like oh no you didn't, oh yes you did. That's exactly what your man McCuddy is doing with these little things. Keeps interrupting and talking over.
Money, you know, people should know where their money goes. I think everyone should learn that. And by the way, both the organisations you work for, including this one, are taxpayer funded. And I think when you start receiving money from the taxpayer, you become afraid that that money might go away. You start minding what you say. You start being careful, if you are the GAA, for example, not to get too involved in community protests against immigration centres, in case people might speculate that the GAA is political, in a way that the government never speculates the GAA is political when it's endorsing or being friendly towards political campaigns that it likes, like the same-sex marriage referendum. So I think government money does influence.
And he didn't there, which I would have if I was in McQuirk's position. I would have said, how about when the guy pander to Islam, how they let Muslim prayer happen in Crow Park? He didn't say that, of course, but that's what I would have said. Like, how come you aren't questioning the guy by doing that? You know, like they're basically pandering to these new arrivals that are coming into the country, having special events held just for these people and no one else, and then having certain parties turn up or like Sinn Féin and all and give big speeches, you know, appealing to their new voters. That's what they're doing with that. They're appealing to their new vote. You give us your vote and we'll make sure you can do this every week. You know, that type of thing. Crow Park is sacred soil.
Influence its recipients. I think if it was corporate money, if the GA was taking massive amounts of corporate money, you would not be sitting here saying that there's no way it's influenced by it. Of course it is.
Massive amounts of corporate money. It takes way more corporate money than it takes government money.
And I'm saying
about the funding.
I'm saying that when we're having political discussions about immigration, and you've got an organisation on here that is funded by the taxpayer to advance a particular political point of view, you should be telling your viewers that there is not one single political organisation funded by the taxpayer to advance the other point of view. And this is having your thumb on the scale. And I also think, by the way, to come on a television programme and say that people should not be allowed to view what they don't like on social media.
Organisations take taxpayer money. You've just been on it, and you've just offered the other point of view.
Good, and I'm glad to have been on here, but I think it's important that point of view is heard.
Doesn't slightly undermine your point, no?
No, it doesn't. I mean, if you don't think I should be on the show, Kieran, you should say that.
No, I absolutely am. Well, I welcome you on the show, John, as well.
Like this fella here, he's so condescending. And that's the point. That's the whole reason he's there. You know, he's kind of like a Piers Morgan type of figure. But once again, all it is letting you know little bits of how they operate, but at the same time just rubbing it in your face. And they used Virgin one, like Richard Branson's company. They were saying that this is government funded. Virgin is government funded. So when everyone's paying like their Virgin bill and all, is that not what's funding them? So they're getting government funded on top of Irish people paying their Virgin bills. And British people, because Virgin Media is over there as well, you know. But yeah, I just thought I'd highlight that. Not saying now I agree with 100% with your man McGuirk from Gript. I have tried to call him out on Twitter a few times for his stances. He tries his best to, because the way I see it, right, the way I see these things, so many times he's mentioned the far right and he's distanced himself from the far right. So in my head, that's telling me, well, John, you're simply just going along with government narrative in the sense of be wary of this big bad far right that are out there. We don't have a far right in Ireland, you see. So it's a boogeyman. So he's still pandering to the government when he talks about the far right. Do you get me? He made good points about the NGOs because, like I said, they're the ones that are in the limelight now at the moment because everyone's starting to open their eyes to the fact that, hang on, what's the real purpose of these NGOs and who's funding them? And then if people dig a little bit, they start connecting the dots in the sense of a lot of them are funded by the Open Society, you know? The George Soros Open Society. The man who goes into countries and basically takes over with his rainbow. Like, he's behind the LGBT stuff as well, do you know? So, a man to be really highlighted is Soros behind all these NGOs. But of course, they give them the name non-government organisations when they're literally just an arm of the government, you know? They send the NGOs to kick off about something and then the government come in with an answer to it. So if there's something that the government want to push out, they'll get the NGOs to go out on marches and, you know, and if Irish nationalists gather together, the government send out the NGOs to set up counter protests to show that even though people within the NGOs that are recruited by the NGOs might say that they are anti-government, it's the opposite with them. It's the opposite with them because they're just an arm of the government. Do you get me? So it's getting more people in Ireland informed about these NGOs. That's what I would say. Now the other woman that was there, where is she? The woman that was in the middle, she was a big disappointment. She's an ex-criminologist, this woman here. And I actually walked in the building with this woman and I have massive respect for her because I love all that. I love all like criminology and stuff like that. And she seemed like a really nice person. But there is a part in this goes on for 40 minutes and she speaks a few times. But once again, she's talking about my area, right? As if she's been here for years and years. She's only recently came to my area and start working in it. Only recently. And she's dropping the far right. She's dropping all the trigger words, you know. all the virtue singling and words. She dropped so many, and I was just like, you know what, Trina, that year was a big disappointment to hear you talk like this on this show. And used to have respect for you for what she did back in the past and all. But it's another one. They got to her. The money got to her. The limelight on Virgin will put you up on the big screen and stuff like this. This is another little condescending NGO. Feels untouchable. But yeah, there's my little spiel about them.